it's Elizabeth. Welcome back to Live, Craft, and Love. I'm going to go ahead and share with you my first DT project for Country Craft Creations. If you do not remember, the paper line that I did receive from Tammy was Back to School by Echo Park. And so I, thought about it over and over to see what type of project should I do. And I decided to do one project for teachers and another project for the students or for the parents to keep, memories of their children as they're going through their, elementary years in school. So the first DT project that I'm going to share with you guys is a teacher kit. And this is going to include 4 items that teachers use on a regular basis at the beginning of a school year, or actually at any time of the school year. But this is a really neat idea, so that way you can go ahead and give to your son, daughter, granddaughter, grandson's teacher at the beginning of the school year, and you know that the teachers will absolutely love it. We cherish everything that our students and our parents give us, and it's something that we will use throughout the entire year, so it's not going to be a waste. And the first thing that we're going to create is a mini double notepad holder. And this is just the rough model that I created, but you'll see the end result after this tutorial. It holds 2 mini notebooks that you find at the Dollar Tree, and these are the ones that you find at the Dollar Tree. There's 5 in a pack. And it holds 2. It does have pockets, so this does, it can be removed and replaced. And of course, this is just the rough model. This is not how it's going to look, but it's going to look a lot prettier with this beautiful paper. So go ahead, if you haven't done so, go on to countrycraftcreations.com, get yourself one of these packs, get yourself some red coordinating cardstock, because we are going to make this together. Now, of course, the materials that I'm going to be using is, of course, the paper line, red coordinating cardstock, and also I've got some black cardstock that I got from Recollections from Michael's. This is 110 pounds, so it's very, very sturdy. You're going to need your scoreboard, your paper trimmer, a scoring tool, some scissors, your bone folder, some wet adhesive, which I'm going to be using art glitter glue that I also got from Country Craft Creations, some score tape, and it would be preferably the 1/8 inch size, or you can use wet adhesive, one or the other. But this is the one I am going to be using. Let's see what else. I think that's about it, other than the notepads that we're going to be getting from the Dollar Tree. And if it's optional for you to get some distress ink, I might be using black soot or candied apple, and also these awesome little mini ink blending tools. Again, you can find this at Country Craft Creations along with the distress ink. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing that you're going to be needing is, of course, your base material, which is today is our black cardstock. You're going to line that up on the 11.5 inch side and cut it at 5 1/4 inch. Line that up, cut it, set that piece aside. Now line this up at the 8.5 inch side, and I need you to score at 4 and 4.5. Go ahead and fold on those creases. Just like so. And this is the base. Now, the next item that we're going to need is going to be the little flap that we're going to have over here on this side. So I'm going to need a piece that is, this is 5 1/4 inch. So we're going to need, again, 5 1/4 inch. We need it the same height. So let's trim the other piece of paper that was left over, trim it at 5 1/4, and we're going to cut this at 4 1/4. Now at the 4 1/4 inch side, I'm going to need you to score at 1/2 inch and then 1 inch. So you're going to score at the 1/2 inch mark and the 1 inch mark. And go ahead and fold in those creases nice and tight, just like so. This first flap is going to be what's going to be adhered to this. So what we're going to need is to apply some score tape right along here, and I am going to use my 1/4 inch score tape for this purpose, just because at 1/8 inch I'd probably be using too much of it. So I varnished that, or if you have 1/2 inch tape, that would probably go over your score line. The best one to use, in all honesty, I just don't have it in my stash, is 3/8 inch score tape, because that is like perfect right next to that score mark. You don't have to worry about it. But I'm improvising. I'm using my 1/4 inch and just overlapping. So before, and I completely forgot to do this, I done goofed. Right here, I am going to need to miter the corners just a smidge. And then I'm going to adhere, let me take that piece out. I'm going to adhere that to my side. Make sure that the score marks, that this flap right here lines up right at the edge of the left side flap. And I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Line that up. Perfect. Beautiful, right there. So as you can see, that is our base. Now what we're going to do is we're going to adhere our pockets, and we're going to need 2 pieces that measure 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to use another piece of paper, but for right now, I am going to get my first piece off of this remaining piece. 3 7/8 by 3 7/8. And y'all, look at what is left over after this first sheet of paper. This is the only scraps you have after the first sheet, so we're not wasting any paper here. Now you are going to have to grab another piece of paper, but trust me, we will use this later on. Cut that at 3 7/8, and then again at 3 7/8. We're making perfect squares. Okay, I'm going to put my scoreboard and my trimming out to the side. Now what we're going to do is grab your 1/8 inch score tape or your wet glue if you prefer, and you're going to line up only the left and the right side of this square. Do not line the bottom. And the reason being is the score tape, if you line it up at the bottom, it will get sticky, and the bottom part of the notepad, this right here, this little cardboard piece, will probably end up getting stuck to the bottom. So that's why we need to have wet glue on the bottom. So we're going to take off our score tape, and using my art glitter glue, I'm going to put a small line of glue along the edge. Now I love the fact that this has that little metal tip that you can get, because your lines can be super, super fine and thin. So line this up at the very edge of the right flap first, and go ahead and adhere that down. Now, the reason why I cut it smaller than 4 inches is this. I hope you can see, because I know it's black cardstock. But right here, there is a score line, and my piece of paper runs like maybe a 1/16 inch away from it, which is perfect because we don't want it to be on there or else it won't close. So right next to the score line. Now let's go ahead and do the next piece. Now, since it's a perfect square, there's really no right side, wrong side to do this on. Just make sure that you adhere the glue to the opposite end of what you started. So I'm starting off right here, and the score tape's getting all tangled up in my finger. And opposite side, right there. Burnish that really well. Let's take off the tape backing, and again the bottom, light line of wet adhesive so it can stick nice and well. And now I'm going to line this up right here. Do you see this where the flap is? I'm going to line it right next to that score line, not on top, right next to it, because I do not want to land on the score line. Adhere that down and down. Perfect. Now if there's a little bit of glue oozing out, that is completely fine. Just wipe that off. Perfect. Now we have our pockets. And next thing we need to build is our little pocket right here. So grab your scoreboard and your trimmer out again. And the way this measures, let's see, all you need to do is cut a piece. This is measuring at 3 1/4. So I'm going to cut that an inch larger just so I can make my little flaps. Let me go ahead and put my pin in here so it won't dry up. Get the scrap piece of paper I had left. I need a piece that measures 4 1/2 by 2 1/2. So 4 1/2 by 2 1/2. Okay, now on the 4 1/2 inch side, I'm sorry, it shouldn't have been 4 1/2, 4 1/4. So sorry about that. 4 1/4 by 2 1/2. On the 4 1/4 inch side, you're going to mark at 1/2 inch. Rotate it on the complete opposite side, again, 1/2 inch. And on the 2 1/2 inch side, you're going to score 1/2 inch on that. And this is forming your little pocket. And we're going to use, again, score tape. I'm using my 1/4 inch score tape on this. Since it is a small pocket, it's not going to get like widely used, so not very many big items can fit in here. So we'll go ahead and miter the corners right here. Sorry if you can hear my little one in the background. She's outside the door banging on it. She's playing with her daddy. Okay, there we go. Varnish that really well. Take off the tape backing for the bottom, and I always like adhering the two sides to it first. Bring this back in, take out the tape backing, whoops, on that, and now I'm going to adhere this pocket to this flap right here, making sure again I am not landing on the score line, but I am lining it up to the edge of the left side flap. Just like so. Perfect. Now we have our flap. Now normally you could put in like a mat here before you line the pocket, but I'm just going to cut my mat a little smaller and just tuck it in there. No big deal. So now we are ready to add our mats. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mat everything in red coordinating cardstock first, and then I'm going to use my design paper. So the mat for this, if you want to always know how I mat my stuff, I measure the length and the width, like this is 4 inches, so I'm going to go down by 1/4 inch. So that would be 3 3/4 by, this is 5 1/4. So by 3 3/4 by 4 3/4 is going to be what I'm matting. Actually, I want to make it a little bit bigger since I'm going to do this plus the design paper. So I think I'll do it by 1/8 of an inch. So 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So I'm going to cut this at 5 1/8. And 3 7/8, just like so. And this is going to be right there. So you have a very thin black line border, and I think that already looks super cute. If I want to, I can go ahead and mat this, which I think I am, if I'm not mistaken. That is a 1/2 inch side, so I'm going to cut that at 3/8 of an inch. And since this is already the perfect size, I'm just going to trim it off of here. So 3/8 of an inch. And I'm going to need a total of 2 pieces. So 1, 3/8 of an inch right there. 2. So this, I'm going to flip this over. This is covering my back side, the spine, the other spine, and I need another one that measures the same as this piece, which is 3 7/8. Same piece I'm using because it's a perfect height. So 3 7/8. Come on. And then this piece is a little smaller, and I did that on purpose. So this measures 3 1/4. So I'm going to want it at 3 1/8. Hopefully this is actually big enough. Perfect, look at that. Not a single piece wasted out of that entire piece. This is the only scrap. Beautiful. So now this is our backside of our little trifold folio mini notepad holder. Just like so. And then our design paper is going to go on top of that. But before we start putting these down, let me just put these aside. I am going to cut the mats for the inside. And like I said, this right here, I'm going to cut at actually a 1/4 inch in. So this measures 3 1/4. So I'm going to cut that at 3 just so that way I can tuck it in. I'm going to cut this at 5 1/8. Actually, I can even cut it at 5 or even 4 1/2 because I'm just tucking it in. So 4 1/2, and I'm cutting this again just so I can show you. It measures at 3 1/4. I'm going to cut it at 3. So cut this at 3 just so that way it can tuck in to this pocket right here. And you know what? Just like so. And I'm going to use wet glue so I have, like, again, I'll have little wiggle room to do. Now I'm going to find a measurement for my pocket. And here I am going to go 1/8 of an inch. So it's 3 1/4. I'm going to go at 3 1/8 by 1 7/8. Use this piece right here. 3 1/8 by 1 7/8. So that's going to go just like that. Actually, I can, oh, that looks good. Barely little black border there. I think I can trim 1/8 of an inch off. Make it at 3. So in the end, it's 3 by 1 7/8. That looks better. Okay, now that I have this piece and this piece matted, I'm going to get the measurements for the mats for these 2 pockets. I'm not going to mat the back because simply the little notebook's going to be covering the area anyway, and I like the look of the black contrast. So I'm going to mat just simply these 2 pockets and the 2 spines. I'm going to need another piece of red cardstock. So I'm going to cut that at 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and then again, because they're the exact same size, and they're going to be laid just like that, right there. Perfect. Now I'm going to need the spines, and the spines measure 3/8 by 5 1/8. Oh my gosh, I stuttered there. So I'm going to have 5 1/8 and cut 3/8 and 3/8 again. And there you go. Great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and glue all of my mats, and then I'm going to cut my design paper. Before I glue the mats, well, you know what, let me just go ahead and glue the inside. And I cannot forget to add the seam binding before I add the mats to the back. I love this tip because I can easily glue these tiny pieces without a problem. Before I would have so much trouble. I would have glue all over my fingers, and then the glue would get stuck in the design paper, and I wouldn't be able to work very well with that Fabri-Tac glue that I use all the time. But now with this glitter glue, I don't think I'm ever gonna switch back, y'all. Like, I really like it, especially because of this little fine tip that you can get. You can the bottle you can buy in many sizes, and then you can buy the little metal tip separately. It's not even expensive, guys, and it is so worth the amount. because you can glue like more precise on your projects, and that makes a world of a difference, especially when you're trying to be neat and clean about it. And it seems like you don't even waste as much glue as you would with a larger nozzle, because all you really need is just a little bit. But sometimes we get carried away, or the opening is too big, so it just, you know, it comes out. And with this little tip, it kind of limits the amount that comes out. See that? Love it, love it, love it, love it. Slip that right in there. And then the last piece of the pocket. Now I'm matting the inside because of course the seam binding doesn't go in here. Just like so. And now I'm going to mat the outside, but I'm going to place my seam binding. I am going to do my seam binding only up to here. I do not want to glue it on my left flap when I flip it over. And I am going to use the green seam binding that I received from Tammy, because this is a collection, or this is a pattern paper I'm going to use to cover this. Now you only need one piece of 12 by 12 pattern paper for this project, and since this is double-sided, I can have the both sides showing through. And I'm going to want it, let's see, about that long. So let me cut it here. I'm going to adhere glue just straight down the middle with my glitter glue. And I always fold my seam bindings or my ribbons in half, just to make sure that I have the same amount at both ends. So about there. Glue that down, and now I'm ready to mat this side. Okay, so these are my pieces for this side. Mat my spines first. And I love the contrasting colors of red and green. It's gonna look so cute. Place that on there. Now mat the larger pieces, and this is a small one. Now this one, remember, we don't want to glue down the seam binding, so we're going to have to lift the seam binding up. As a matter of fact, let that be the first piece that I glue down, because I do not want to make this mistake, and Lord knows I make mistakes all the time. Now the reason why I made again this red cardstock in the back so very small, like giving it not even 1/8 of an inch on each side, is because I'm also going to mat it with the design paper. So I wanted a double mat look on this, and plus it makes it a little bit more sturdier. And this cardstock, by the way, is phenomenal. It's like really sturdy. It even has like a texture to it and a little textured feel to it. Super cool. Okay, put that down. And the last piece. Oops, it oozed out there a little bit. Now, to avoid that, just make sure you don't put glue at the very edge of your paper, or else it'll ooze out like it just did. So there you go. There is the base. Now we're going to cut our design paper in the measurements that we need. And I will give those to you in just a second. Let me just go ahead and clear my area. And I'm trying to look for this pin that goes in here. There you go, found it. It was trying to escape from me. Okay, so we need our paper trimmer out. And the front, we're going to need all the sides to be 4 7/8. So we want to make sure that since this is running up and down, because there are letters, 4 7/8 is going to be cut this way. So 4 7/8, and the front measures 2 7/8, and the other two mats, the back and the middle, are 3 5/8, and we're going to need 2 of those, so 3 5/8 and 3 5/8. So those are the two that we need, the three. And then we're going to need the behind pocket, which measures 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. The 3 3/4 has to be this way. So I'm going to cut 2 3/4. No, wait. Yeah. 2 3/4 right here. And 3 3/4 this way. And then the bottom is 2 3/4 again with by 1 5/8. So 1 5/8. And that is literally all the design paper that you are going to need, my friends. So let's figure out how we want to put this. This is a front. So do I want this in the front? And then this back here is like so. Or do I want it like this with the letters peeking out, just like that? And then of course I can add a sticker to the front from my sticker sheet. I think I'm going to leave the green, that way I can go ahead and add a sticker as an embellishment. And then this back, I'm going to leave the ABCs. And then on the inside, should I leave it green with the letters like this, or should I leave the letters and then the green? I think I'm going to leave the green like this and the letters like that. Okay, ready to glue. So I'm going to leave the green on the out, so I'm going to put glue back here. Again, don't try and put glue at the very, very edge. The glue will end up seeping through like it did on me. Oh, shoot. That's right. I'm going to distress my edges. Good thing I did it before. Now it's going to be kind of tricky because I already put glue on this, but I just want to give it a little bit of a black border just to bring the accent of the black cardstock out. Now I am not a great inker, guys. I'm still learning how to do this. So if y'all have tricks or things that work better, let me know, because God knows I am not great at inking my edges. Okay, glue kind of dried a bit there. Go ahead and reapply. Okay, I'm going to lay this flat. Move those aside. Just like so. Varnish it down with my bone folder. Nice and good. Now these two back sides are going to have the letters. Just like that. Making sure the letters are up and down. Ink my edges on these now that they're dry. No glue's back there, so it's a little bit easier for me. I just don't like that cut look where you can see like the white on the design paper. I love inking my edges because it gives it a really nice finish. And then especially when you coordinate it with the cardstock that you're using, it kind of gives your project a little bit of a pop. And I just love that. I just hope that I get better at it. Okay, so now time to add the glue. Go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I'm loving the way this is coming out. What can I say? I'm a teacher, right? And like I said, this is a really nice gift to give to, you know, your student's teacher on the first week of school. Or I don't know if you all have it where you guys live, but we have meet the teacher night before school starts, so that way the students and the parents get to meet who their son or daughter's teacher is going to be, at least in the elementary level, grade school level. And so at that time, you know, we're starting to get, you guys don't understand, like teachers are just as apprehensive and just as nervous and just as scared our first day meeting parents, meeting our students, just like parents are and students are. We're not completely like 100% like fearless when it comes to that. We have our apprehensions, and when you receive a little something like this from your parents, it kind of like, it's an icebreaker, and it's really appreciated, trust me, because many times we don't get the material that we need, or at least I don't. Especially if you work for like a Title I school, it's really hard to get the instructional materials that you need on campus, or even for yourself. So every little bit counts, trust us. So I figured, you know, let me go ahead and make a project that, you know, will help a teacher out. And then my second one is going to be for the children. Actually, for the parents, because the parents want to, you know, notate everything. And there you go. Look at that. Now I'm just going to pick a sticker to put on there, and I'm going to mat it on some black cardstock. Let me see if I can find a little scrap piece somewhere. Here we go. Let's see, what do I want on there? A bus. The bus would look kind of cute in there. Or a schoolhouse. Thinking the schoolhouse would look cute like that. What do you think? I think so. Okay, so I'm going to put that on black cardstock, and I'm going to fussy cut this out. I am not the best fussy cutter either, guys, but I try. Now with these scissors that I received, they make things so much easier to do little cuts like this versus using these huge like Walmart teacher scissors that I had. So thank you again, Tammy, for these wonderful scissors. I absolutely love them. Love them, love them, love them. It makes cutting so much easier. Okay, so we're done with that, and we're gonna leave that there. And I think I'm going to pop that up, give it a little bit of dimension, just like that. Let me go ahead and grab my foam dots. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and adhere some dimensional dots to the back. And these, it's just a roll that I grabbed from Hobby Lobby, I believe. They're already pre-cut in rectangles, so that helps. And adhere that right smack in the middle, just like so. And then there you go. Now all we gotta do is add our little notepads. Now to make it easier, you don't have to, but to make it easier, they're kind of stuck to each other. I usually do this. I cut like a quarter or a half an inch from the bottom, and then I trim I cut a little sliver off diagonally to make it just easier to slip into the pocket. You don't have to, it's just something that I prefer doing, and it doesn't take very much time to do, so I do that to all of my notebooks. So let's go ahead and slip this in there. Just like so. And do the same thing to this. Cut about a half an inch from the bottom and diagonally up top. It just makes it a lot easier and smooth to slip this in there. And there you go. Push it right in there. And this paper, guys, is so secure, it's unreal. Okay, there you have it. We are done. There is a double mini notepad holder with the pocket. Now we can easily create a little tag or something here simply by getting, you know, a scrap piece of tag and cutting a rectangle. Now I should probably use my paper trimmer because I am not the best freestyle cutter ever. So I'm gonna cut that like at 2 inches, and then maybe by, I don't know, 3 3/4 maybe. I'm just making stuff up here, guys, as I go. And so I can easily slip a little tag in here and cut the corners off and flip this over just to make the form of a tag, and cover it with some more design paper. All I gotta do is just kind of like, I don't want the green showing, I want the letters showing, so I can put glue on this little tag all over, glue it down, and simply fussy cut around it. Now I am going to tell you, do not throw any of your scraps away, guys, because I am not done with this. This is a 4-part project, remember. This is just one of the items from the kit, the teacher back to school kit that I'm putting together. And there you go. There's your tag. Super cute. You could put ribbons out of there if you want, and so forth. And it closes just like so. Tie right here. Oops. Got tangled up on me and wrinkled. There we go, just like so. Now if you do want to slip in a pen, there is room for a pen. Let's say, for example, you know, these little pens, I can easily slip it in with the cap right here. It will stick out a bit, or you can just simply leave it like this, your choice. Put it in there, close it up, and tie it, and there you go. Or you can just leave the whole pen thing out and go ahead and tie it in there. And that's it. That is part 1 of the teacher kit series for the Paperline Back to School by Echo Park. This is a design team project for countrycraftcreations.com. A lot of the material, or the majority of the material I got, was from Tammy at countrycraftcreations.com. Paperline I'm using is Back to School Echo Park. I got this along with red coordinating cardstock, and the cardstock looks like this. It's a beautiful, perfect match to the collection. So yeah, I hope to see that many of you are following this tutorial along with me, purchasing the pack. It is not expensive whatsoever. You do receive it very, very quickly, with a matter of 2 or 3 days. So I really hope you guys enjoy this tutorial. Again, this is a 4-part series of a teacher kit. We're going to be making 4 things that teachers usually use at the beginning of a school year, or even throughout the school year. Perfect gift ideas for Teacher Appreciation Week or the beginning of school, for your student, for your child's teacher, grandkids teacher, or even for a friend, coworker. It doesn't have to be a teacher. It could be somebody working in the office with you, anybody. But since the Paperline is back to school themed, excuse me, I am trying to go along the lines for teachers and students. So hopefully you all liked this tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below as to any questions or any ideas that you might have. As always, thank you again for coming and tuning into my channel. As always, live passionately about what you do, craft as often as you can, and love endlessly. We'll see you guys next time for part 2 of this teacher kit series. Bye y'all, big hugs.